Welcome to another episode of Excellence in Customer Engagement, where we elevate servant leadership and customer service excellence. I am your host, Christine George, and today we have an incredible guest joining us, Richard Johns from Richard's Ride. Richard has built a thriving white glove door-to-door airport transportation business in Solon, Ohio, that has grown tremendously over the years. His commitment to exceptional customer engagement and service excellence has set him apart in the transportation industry. Today, we'll dive into his journey, the principles that have fueled his success, and the strategies he uses to create memorable, high-touch customer experiences that keep people coming back. We'll explore Richard's first role model in servant leadership and how Richard's early customer service experiences shaped his business philosophy, the keys to customer engagement that have driven Richard's Ride's growth, also handling difficult customer situations while maintaining a high standard of service, and the evolving role of technology and social media in customer interactions. Get ready for an inspiring conversation that will leave you with actionable insights on how to build a customer-centric business that thrives on trust, authenticity, and service excellence. Let's dive in. Good afternoon, Richard. I cannot imagine my work life without you and your dependable transportation services.
Oh, thank you.
My flights are typically scheduled early morning and returning flights sometimes late evening. One thing I am certain of is that you and one of your drivers will be waiting for me in a beautiful, clean vehicle with all the amenities, rain, shine, sleet, or snow.
Well, that's our mantra.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It is truly an honor to take a peek at the driving force behind Richard's Ride's white glove service. Okay, Richard, well, tell us about your first role model that inspired you to become a servant leader.
Well, it goes back to when I was 24 years old, and I was assigned to my first personnel manager's position with the now defunct Montgomery Ward chain right out of college, with a gentleman that I have maintained friendship with until he passed away at 95 just recently. He was the store manager of the Montgomery Ward store, and I was the personnel manager. And that was my first personnel manager assignment with him. And I kind of modeled myself after people that I met throughout my young life. That Chuck O'Neill was his name. I was just blessed and fortunate to have Chuck as my mentor. He was a kind of a guy that had no class distinction. He could talk to anyone. And we had a store, 500 people. He could walk through the stock room and stand and talk to a stock boy, just like he would stand and talk to a visitor coming from the corporate office. He just had that ability. I always admired his demeanor and his meticulous dress apparel. He dressed just meticulously. And I said, you know what? As I get older and I'm able to be on my own in another personnel assignment, I'm going to take what Chuck O'Neill taught me and what was a tremendous influence to me in my youth, and I'll just call it my youth. Spiritually, he was Catholic, and just religiously went to mass, every weekend, and I admired that. He and his wife Jean, every weekend they would go to church. So he was a godly man that probably influenced me somewhat in that regard at that time.
What a wonderful role model. You never know who's going to come into your life and just and help you with the perspective of exactly what you want to become in your life. It's incredible. Thank you. What was your first customer service role, and how did that experience impact your path?
Oh, it was it was great. We'll go back to that first personnel management assignment in the retail field. No one had Saturdays off anywhere, but Chuck came into me. He said, "Can you schedule this where the staff members, there were 7 of us, that would run the evening and be on call for any of the customer questions or complaints?" And I put together the schedule, and each staff member was on, 2 of them each night, but it came to an odd number. And I said, well, you know what? I'll just do that one by myself. And it was a little bit challenging, but it kept me busy in those hours of 5 to 9 and handling customer complaints. And our our motto at that time, as was Sears Roebuck, was satisfaction guaranteed or your money cheerfully refunded. And it was just so fun and easy to hear these complaints from customers. And at the end, after they were done complaining, I said, what can we do to make you smile? And they said, why, we just wanted to complain that. I said, I understand that, but would you like us to replace that item or a full refund? Because we're happy to do that. And, I had the backing of our motto that was right over the door. And it was so easy to be nice to customers. And it was a great deal of satisfaction to see the smile on their face that we stood behind that motto.
Yeah, and that brings a bit of oxygen to your day, doesn't it? And it just makes it
A lot of synergy, yes.
a lot of synergy. Beautifully said. Love that. Can you tell us about Richard's Rides and how that journey began in the white glove, door-to-door airport transportation service? I am telling you, it is consistent for the past, how many years have I been with you, Richard? 5 years. It is consistent every single time. It doesn't matter what season.
Well, yeah, you've been with us for 5 years, but we started in 2016. And I need to back up a little, just to give you my base of growth. Was I was in the military, served in the U.S. Army, and was assigned to a Nike site in Buffalo, New York. Surrounding Buffalo is Hamburg, New York. And I have a love for, and I've always had a love for, from when I was 12 or 13, cars. I could name every car on the road. I could drive a car without somebody teaching me. I could drive a stick shift without somebody. I just had a natural love and adoration for cars. And that surfaced in the military because they asked me if I would, work in the motor pool, which I started as a motor pool. And I don't want to, denigrate these 2 sergeants that were managing that motor pool over me, but they were senior sergeants, and let's just say they didn't do a very good job. And after they let the first sergeant go, and they had the second one, and they let him go, I walked in as a PFC to the captain, Captain St. Onge, never forget it. I said, I may only have a PFC, but just give me that motor pool and I'll have you the best motor pool in the battalion. And he loved it that I had that moxie to say that. And I stood behind my word because I gathered 4 or 5 of the best mechanical guys, and put together D-battery motor pool. Our motto was, the difficult we do immediately, the impossible takes a little longer. And I took great joy out of having that experience in the military. It was a wonderful experience. There was nothing negative about it. I actually had tears in my eyes when I was discharged driving home to Newcastle, Pennsylvania.
You had vision back then. I mean, how old were you then? You had vision.
18. I volunteered for the draft before I went to college. Yeah, 18 years old, probably 19 when I asked to take over the motor pool as a PFC. And shortly after, of course, they made me a sergeant, but an NCO, non-commissioned officer.
Well, it just proves that that what you serve to people every single day is innate. It just comes from within, and it's in the fabric of your being. That's incredible, Richard.
Yeah, yeah, and that's true. It's you never know who you talk to, and what you're able to get involved with, and those experiences, Christine, just evolved into leadership positions. I'm embarrassed to tell you that the three corporate companies that I worked with, that my corporate life was Montgomery Ward, Singer Company, and then just recently, much to my dismay, Joann Fabric, where I was there for 15 years as the HR officer. And all three companies are gone, and I still survive. And that's when I decided that I wanted to be entrepreneurial. So I started what I call my second career and became an executive search consultant, and was doing that for probably 30 years, and got to the point where I wanted to try something totally different, and reinvent myself. And I did a self-assessment, and my love of cars certainly appeared. My organizational skills appeared. My ability to kind of get along, engage people, and it just led to being a upscale Uber. Not Uber, it never was an Uber. We just started our company with a focus of dealing with middle and upper class clientele. I don't refer to my customers as customers. I refer to them as relationships. And we have currently 1,100 relationships in our database, of which 350, you included, are multiples. So even though there's 1,100 customers in the database, 350 are the people that call us every week, every month, multiple, sometimes 20, 30 times in the last 5 years or longer. And my leadership led me into being the commodore of a yacht club when I was into boating. Became president of a car club when my love of cars. I was president of the Rotary Club. And by the way, that Chuck O'Neill, if I go back to 24 years old, that's another thing that he impressed on me, that he was active in Rotary. And he used to take me to the Rotary luncheons. And he had put me in charge of putting together a recognition program for outstanding senior students, which I did. And lo and behold, when I was probably 38, 39, I joined Rotary here in Beechwood, Ohio, and evolved into becoming president of the Chagrin Valley Rotary Club. So I've been involved with a lot of organizations, including Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and it's just been a wonderful ride. That having all these relationships, I have to tell you, was very helpful in starting my business back in 2016.
And that speaks volumes of your ability to network. Not only do you get an amazing ride, a white glove service, but the networking piece, you have to mention that because You do that so well. You match people that need to meet each other during that ride, if that's something that the customer wants. And I
Right.
think that is just a lovely value add. And I see where
Well,
it comes from now.
the word networking has always been out there. I never considered myself doing networking. I just considered myself, engaging people with no intent other than make them feel better about themselves than they probably do about themselves, and ask questions. I honestly think that, and I probably learned this reading the Dale Carnegie book, is better to ask questions and learn about people than to sit there and talk about yourself. Uh, that's certainly been something that's been very, very helpful to me. That is the quote unquote, I've never met a stranger.
Yeah, you're definitely one of the mantras you live by is to be interested instead of interesting. And
Yep.
you bring out the best in people and then engage them with someone in your network that could be beneficial. And what does that do? That expands their life experience. I know you've done that for me multiple times, and I so appreciate you. Of
Thank you.
course. What are some of the core customer service principles that have helped you grow Richard's Rides over the years?
Oh, integrity, dependability, honesty, forthright,
Cleanliness. Cleanliness.
and then again, cleanliness. My
Absolutely.
wife threw that one at me. Uh, I always joke with people. I said, if you talk to 20 people who know me, 18 out of 20, you'd ask them, well, tell me about Richard Johns. Probably 18 out of 20 says, oh, he keeps his cars immaculate. So what a legacy to carry on in my life that I keep my cars clean.
And it is so true. It doesn't matter the weather. It could be a sloppy snowstorm, but your vehicles are always beautiful, clean, and it's just
Uh,
a luxury.
and customers, I don't know if they expect it, but they appreciate it. They probably scratch their head and say, how does he do it? But it's just a commitment to providing that. And it's worked for us.
Yeah. And with those core values, I imagine that that's how you create memorable experiences and keep the customers coming back and referring. Is that true?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's exactly true.
Can you share a time when you went above and beyond for a customer and maybe a memorable experience?
Start the question again. Let me make sure I have it correctly.
Or can you share a time when you went above and beyond for a customer? And I know it's every single time, but I'd love to hear of a customer service experience with an individual. And how did that impact your business?
I'm going to give you two different examples of that. When I had my recruiting company, we had an appointment with an individual, and for some reason, the resume writer didn't write it down, but the person came in and there was no one there to help him with the resume. And he was very upset. And I said, you know what? I certainly apologize, but let's set another appointment. I can promise you that someone will be here the next time, and that resume will be done at no cost to you. Well, that's probably what I'd have done at any time, no matter what, I would have done that. But the interesting part of this, the one example, is that several years later, that same person came back and he was leaving the company and they were providing him with a very generous outplacement uh, assistance with obviously having a resume written. And he thought of us, came back and we did the corporate outplacement, which was much more than just a resume. It was a total reinventing that person's career, resume writing, interview skills, that sort of thing. And it returned to our company many times over, not only financially, but the goodwill that that was spread through that experience with him.
It's just about putting that customer first. Every single time, it's a win.
Well, another example is, just recently, a gentleman, I would pick them up at the airport and then drop them off at their home, and I would be almost home, probably 5 miles from where I dropped them off. He'd call and he said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I left my phone in your car."
Huh.
I said, "Oh, well, he said, I'll come and get it." I said, "No, that's not a problem. I'll bring it back to you." So, okay, that was done. Not such a big deal. But several weeks later, this same gentleman took him on the airport. They left, came back. I picked him up at the airport. On the way home, do you believe that he forgot his phone again in my car? And I said, "Phil, I'll be back, but we need to come up with a way that you don't forget your phone when you leave my car." So now the big joke is, when he gets out of the car, "Phil, do you have your phone?" And the wife laughs, he laughs. But that, again, it's the relationship that, you turn something that wasn't very pleasant into something joyful.
Exactly. Oh, it's truly a joy riding with you or any one of your drivers.
Well,
Yeah, you do you do turn it into a joyful experience. And what happens is the customer wants to tell all of their friends that travel, and or if they need a ride, and they can't find anyone and they just turn to you, you are the first person that customer will think of, because it was a joyful experience. And that's really how we retain customers, is through those emotional experiences and those.
well, forgive me. I wish I could remember even how you came to us. I would bet you it was a referral from
It
somebody.
definitely was. It was
Good.
from a gentleman that washes windows. And I had to ask him, he comes every season. I asked him, I need a driver. And you were the first person he spoke of. Yeah. And
Well, that was my next point, is that with all of this engaging of these customer relationships, that many of them are through referrals, and that we do no advertising whatsoever, none. Everything is referrals, uh, and there's probably not 3 days to go by that another customer doesn't call, and we add another customer to that 1,100 list.
that's,
So through a referral.
yeah. Yeah. Well, your service speaks for itself. It truly does. How do you handle difficult customer situations while maintaining those high standards of service?
Well, I guess we've been very fortunate. The only difficulties, I wish I could say we were perfect, but there's only one person that I know that's perfect, and that's our Savior Jesus Christ. So, but every once in a while you slip up, and there were times when the call would come to me and say, "We're here. We just landed," and I didn't have them on the schedule. Don't ask me why. It wasn't on the schedule, and I just take it so seriously when that happens. And I said to the person, I said, "You know what? It's my fault. It's my error. I'd like you to take the taxi that right out of door 7. Just walk in there, whatever that is. I will pay that for you to bring you home, and waive the other rate on your outbound, which is probably another $100. So I waived the outbound where he didn't have to pay that, and I paid his return home through whatever it was. He sent me a bill or he told me what it was. And he just was so grateful of that. He said, that's why I'll keep using you, because you stand behind what what you stand for. So it's it's just good business. It's not like somebody said, oh, that this is what you have to do to it just comes natural to be able to do that, is to give something that someone doesn't expect. And that's the best present.
Yeah, it's that mint on the pillow mentality.
Yep, right.
But also what you did there and that how you turned that experience around is that you reinforced and reestablished your pillar of trust. Your service is dependable, trustworthy. Gosh, not on the schedule, no problem. Let's take care of it. And you just didn't skip a beat, Richard.
Thank you.
Have you implemented any specific loyalty programs or community engagement initiatives beyond your networking service, in quotes?
I probably can't think of something that, other than we have a classified, we belong to Parkside Church, which is a very large church. And over the years, we've become known as the go-to people for transportation. And we have a little one-liner in the classified area of that is another way. There's no cost to that, but just another way to keep our name out there with our large membership. We have a small one-liner in a Gates Mills, which is an upscale community newsletter that it's almost cost nothing, but it's it's in the Gates Mills. They call it the pink slip or pink letter. I don't even know what they call it, but we're the only ones in there that offer transportation services. So we get quite a few customers coming out of Gates Mills.
That's strategic, and you probably didn't mean it to be so strategic, but it really is, and it's absolutely working for you.
Yep.
Let's talk about your team, Richard. How many drivers do you have right now?
Well, there are 6 available, but of the 6, 3 really get the lion's share. Because they're most available, because they're all professional people who are retired. Some have part-time jobs in their retirement. For example, my longest period of being with me, I met him at the Solon Community Center. It's when I first got started, so 8 years ago. And he was a retired supervisor from AT&T, 35 years. And he said, hey, looks like you're having fun with your business. If you need some help, he said, I like driving, I'll help you. So he has become really the number one person that I can call on him anytime except 3 days a week, 3 mornings a week, where he works part-time at the Seven Hills Community Center. The other is a assistant principal of Solon High School that's retired, and I can call on him, and he uses the extra money for bowling and going to Jack Casino. The other one is a neighbor of mine that's been with me several years, a very close friend of mine, and he's probably heir apparent of an individual that would probably succeed me when I'm ready to step down.
Is there any training involved, or do you just recognize their innate ability to serve people?
I'm looking for someone who communicates, someone who's dependable, someone who is organized. Doesn't have to be, doesn't have to be like me, but when I turn over a trip ticket to an individual, they know that's their responsibility. These are all 1099 self-employed, so they're not employees. They can say yes or no when I call them to say, will you take this ride? If they can do it, yes. If they can't do it, I'll go to the next one. But they know that I'm not going to follow up. I'm not going to, give them a call to make sure that, hey, are you going to be sure you're going to be there at 4 o'clock tomorrow morning? But in order to cover them under insurance, commercial insurance, they have to be an impeccable driving record. They cannot have anything on their record. So all my drivers are cleared through BMV as perfect driving records. So if they weren't, I couldn't get insurance on them for commercial.
Yes. Well, that speaks to their excellence across the board. I mean, they're vetted before you even give them a ticket to take one of the trips. Has technology or social media played a role in enhancing your customer interactions?
Oh, absolutely. Starting my company, I'm going to use the old school term. Everything I did, I'd write it down in a manual, and the only thing that was printed out was the trip ticket itself. That I just would make copies of that. And I had a little medical setback a couple of years ago, and my wife had to pick up the calls coming in, and it was challenging for her. So she called my son and my daughter to come over and help her out, muddling through what she needed to get done. And my son said, "Mom, Dad made this so simple, it's difficult. it's so simple, it's difficult. We need to get him automated. We need to get him into the 21st century." So when I got out of the hospital and, doing well, he put together, a program for me that I still don't know how I did it back then. Everything's on a computer. You put their name in it, their address there. Look up Christine George. All I have to do is Christine and put a G. Boom, you come up in there with your address, your zip code, your credit card number. So we've done that. We've automated in taking payments through. We offer Zelle for payment vehicle. We offer Venmo, credit card, of course, cash, check, whatever's convenient for the customer. So yeah, we have definitely have improved our posture. We've upgraded our website from the early days to an updated website that we have currently.
Oh, excellent. It's just like you breathed new life. It was a breath of new life into your business once you up-leveled and started using these platforms.
Right.
And payment methods too, making that so simple. What advice would you give to business owners who struggle with customer retention and engagement? That's such an issue, especially in this fast-paced world we live in.
What advice to someone to handle customer? Is that?
They struggle with customer retention and
Retention. Oh,
yeah.
Well, I believe in strong communication. Probably over communicate. So sometimes I overdo it. It's something more simple, but I like to make sure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. And then I think that the drivers appreciate that because it's called self-preservation. I may send them something that they thought was one day, but then, it's another day, or the time was AM, it's FM or PM, PM.
Yeah.
So I think by doing that, I feel comfortable that they have all the information and that they're thankful that I did it. even though it's called, micromanage, that they have the ability, to be sure that the time that they are set to pick up or outbound or inbound each customer. The other thing we have that's I don't even know how we would do it without it. It's called Flight View. It's an app that we have on all our phones that tell us when the flight is to arrive, if it's delayed. So we're able, before we even go to the airport, know that flight may be delayed. So we're certainly not going to go to the airport thinking it's going to arrive at 5 when it's delayed till 7. We would wait until 6:30, and if it's still going to arrive at 7, that's when we would go to the airport. So that makes it helpful. And before I had that, you'd go to the airport thinking they were going to land at 5, but they weren't going to land till 6:30. So you're stuck waiting for them at 6:30. So now we have that ability to control the airline, the flight number, when they arrive, or if they're delayed.
That is so important because the customer can't always communicate with you, Richard. They're up in the air. They may not have Wi-Fi and they can't communicate with you, but knowing that you're on the ground and you're 10 steps ahead,
Yep.
what's going on in their world makes it, again, that's the element
And
of
we,
trust.
yeah, and we do, I didn't mean to interrupt you, and we do that ongoing. We will always confirm, as with you, the day prior to your departure, you will get a message, text message, confirming tomorrow morning, picking you up at 7. Mention the name, the time that we're going to be picking you up. And customers appreciate that. They also appreciate it when they're inbound, again, the day before they're inbound, same thing, confirming when you are picking you up tomorrow, whatever the time is, the flight number, the airline will be there waiting for you. Third is when they actually land, we know when they land through the app. The app says they just landed. So we wait about 5 or 10 minutes and then message the customer. By then, they're getting off the plane. They know that they're going to be at lower level luggage or upper level departure. And we tell them we are going to be at such and such a door waiting for you in such and such a car, color, with flashing lights, whatever it is, so that they can identify who we are and that they walk right out the door, right into the car, into a warm car in the winter, into a cool air-conditioned car in the summer. And we're very, very strict on that.
Yeah. And again, just safety and comfortability, you feel like, well, I know for myself, when I land, I know I don't have to do a thing but pick up my bag from the baggage center, and I
Go
know
to the door.
that's door to door.
Yeah, go to the door. Well, you're a traveler. I sure you appreciate that. Every time I leave that airport, I look at all those cars that are parked, particularly in the winter, total covered with snow. And that snow underneath is all ice. So whoever that customer is getting their luggage and they're walking, got to be a half a mile from when they get the luggage to that car. Then they get to the car and they got to scrape the window, turn on the engine, get it warm. Compare that to walk out the door and walk into a car. It's, it's a service that I can tell you that people who try it for the first time say they never will park again. That once they have done it, where we picked them up outbound at their home, help them with their luggage, get into the car, take them to the airport on time, there when they land, when they get in the car, drop them off safely at home, and then we don't take payment until the customer is home safely. We don't take payment on the first trip. We take it on the round trip. So it shows a trust in the customer, a trust in us that we're not here for a money grab. Well, we need your money now. we'll settle up when you get home, and the next day I'll give you a call. We'll take care of it. Oh, and they like that.
Yeah, it's a priceless service. I know that I would not want to do without. It's priceless. Richard, what is one piece of advice that you would give to someone who wants to build a customer-centric business like yours?
Pick up the book How to Influence People by Dale Carnegie. It's probably of all the books I've read, that one, and there's one other one that I read when I first became a recruiter. It was called How to Sell Anything to Anyone. And the person it was written by was a guy by the name of Joe Girard, who was the #1 Chevrolet salesman in the country. And I read the book, and then I'm reading this guy, Joe Girard, and all the things that he would do to generate people to get his name out there. Getting his name out there, he said to himself, wonder how many people I know that I can get my name out to. So he was going to a wedding, and when he went to the wedding, he talked to the banquet manager. He said, I have a question for you. How many on an average do you get for one of these receptions? He said, probably 200 to 250 is average. Oh, later he goes to a funeral, and he, walks in, paid his respects, condolences, and he goes to the funeral director. He says, I have to ask you a question. What's the average number of people that come to these funerals? And the funeral director said, well, probably 200 to 250. It could be more, could be less, but that's probably an average. So he said, well, if I know 250 when I get married and I know 250 when I die, I must know 250 people. So I'm going to put together my list of 250 people, whether it's the milkman, the paper route, the cleaners, my attorney, my accountant, my teacher. Let everyone know that this is who you are. This is what your focus is. This is what you have decided to do with your life, so that they know that there's no, it's not gray, it's black and white. This is the focus of Richard John, is now providing transportation service for upscale customers in the Northeast Ohio area. Focus. That is the key. And stay with that focus. Don't get discouraged, but stay with that focus, and it will grow exponentially, which it has.
Really inspirational. And you are driving your business with your truest passion, and that is people.
Well, I think in any business, if you don't have a passion for it, it will not succeed. In anything, you have to be passionate. When I was serving at the Big Brothers chairman, Commodore of the Yacht Club, the car president of the car club, I had a passion for it. I did things that no one was thinking of doing. It was thinking out of the box and making it a better situation than it was when I left. That was the passion that you have, and that's within. That comes from the heart.
It comes from the heart, and you show that every single day throughout your mission. I would say that would be your mission. Richard, because it takes so much oxygen and energy to do this 7 days a week, how do you maintain that high vibration and the way that you are truly a servant leader, gentleman on this mission, on the daily? How is it that you maintain that high level?
Well, I have an exercise routine that I try to maintain. At my age, it's not easy anymore, but just to go to the Solon Recreation, which we have a wonderful facility, and the synergy of people that come in and we work out every day. I think you have to combine your health, maintaining your vitality, in addition to be passionate. But you could be passionate while you're working out on a machine and someone comes up to you and asks you for your business card. So I think that beyond that, it's the three F's: faith, family, and friends. And I'm blessed in my life that I've always been blessed to have a wonderful wife, a wonderful family. A son and daughter that are twins that are self-dependent, and they do very well, with three grandsons. My wife is very educated, and I'm going to tell you, 47 years, she has taught me a lot how to stay focused, not on so much the business, but stay on our faith, which is right up there at the top. So faith, family, and friends. We have friends that 5 couples that do everything together. Family that's far extended with Anne. She comes from a big family, and Thanksgiving it could be 35 to 40 people at my sister-in-law's, and Christmas time it could be 35, 40 here at our home at Christmas. So family and friends are extremely important to us in sharing, what we have.
Yeah, that it sounds like your fun comes from your family. I mean, certainly with your grandkids, that's just, I can't even imagine the joy from the grandkids that you have, and your family always supporting you and around you. And of course, your wife, it's just, it's the full package that you've manifested in your life. I know that Parkside Church in Aurora is a passion and focus of yours. Can you tell us more?
About Parkside Church?
Yes, please.
Well, Parkside Church,
40 years.
we've been there for 45 years, and Alistair Begg is the engine that makes the church move. He has had such a drawing throughout the world. Alistair Begg is on radio in internet, international. How many? Probably 250 radio stations, maybe more. And he's close to retirement, and they're going to be looking for a replacement. And they're not going to have another Alistair Begg because he's so special. And we have probably 5,000 people go through Parkside Church every Sunday. They have 3 services, 2 in the morning and 1 at 6 o'clock at night. And we were fun that we had you at the concert that we had just recently with your friends. And
That was incredible.
and the one thing that we're involved with, when people say, "Oh, I was at Parkside, it's too big for me," it's too big, too many people. Well, it's too big, but you need to be involved to make it smaller. And the one area that Ann and she does most of the work, believe me, is what they call the Greeter Information Ministry. And we've been doing that for 25 years. And it's not an easy task because everyone that are each door or at each information center, they're on one month or off another month. It's the logistics of keeping track where they can't be there and then you get a substitute. So this is something that she has been involved with heavily with the paperwork that goes with it, and just about ready to divest ourselves of that once we find someone that will take it over.
That's a full-time job. Yay for you, Ann. That takes a lot of organization skills, that's for sure. And the customer service element as well. Yeah.
Customer service, and it's our membership service Because those greeters, they greet you, you're welcoming them in. They're the first face of Parkside Church. I mean, first timer, if you're walking in, you want that greeter to make you feel warm and, here, let me show you where the restroom is, or let me show you where you get a cup of coffee, or, take them there, walk them there. So,
Well, it makes sense that you and Anne are aligned in such an environment. I will tell you my experience. I was greeted by not one, but three people that were just embraced and
yeah,
welcomed, and along with my friends, and I felt like I was already a member. That
yeah,
was so lovely.
yeah.
Well, where can people connect with you and learn more about Richard's Rides?
Well, they can look at our website, and if they need transportation, there's a questionnaire on there of everything they need to let us know: full name, address, zip code, when the departure, when the arrival, what airline. It's all on there, and we get that. That would be an email. Another way is they just give us a call. I'm an old school. I love to answer the phone, and I like to talk on the phone. So I'll be as informative as I can with that new prospect, that new person that calls, particularly if they're referred by someone. And I always ask, who referred you? And they tell me, oh, sure, we know them very well. So they feel like they're not talking to a corporation where they go through three prompts to get to someone to talk to. The phone rings and I answer it. And want to speak to Richard? I am Richard. What can I do to help you?
That
So,
that was my initial experience. I said, "Wow, Richard! I spoke with Richard." I was blown away by that. So I remember your website as www.richardsrides.com.
that's it.
And
Richard's Ride.
I'll post that in the show notes today with you, along with your phone number.
Right.
Is there anything else we should know about Richard and his team?
Just that I absolutely cherish the customers, the relationships, customers/relationships that we have with our customers. Just the other day, I had a multi-millionaire. I probably even go beyond that, when he heard about I had a little accident, and he took the time to call me to see how I was doing. And I thought such an appreciation for that. You talk about the lowest rung on the ladder is driving a car, as evidenced by Uber. How many drivers of Uber do they have throughout the world? And to establish that relationship with him, that he took the time to call me, and he apologized. It took him so long that he just found out that I had the accident. But I think that's the joy I get from it, is the absolute warm relationships that we have with our customer. And my guys, they're establishing that same feeling, because when they're out there, they're the face of the company. For example, Chris, I don't is he's terrific. Chris knows no stranger. He's a godly man. He's a family man. He's known in our community as the go-to guy. No matter what, he's always there for you. That's the kind of guy we want. We want someone that's tuned in. So,
So lovely speaking with you and having this chance to really peek behind what truly drives the Richard's Rides business and the white glove service. Um, I know that my cheeks hurt from smiling, and I'm sure that all of our listeners are in the same boat, because it's very rare um, that you experience such trust and dependability. And Richard, you truly are a family member of all of your customers. I hope you know that. I mean, there was just no one else I would call.
uh,
Um, That and it's
I've
definitely,
had, that same president that I told you that owns a large company.
yes.
Uh, I was taking his sister just about every month. She flies in from Chicago, and the father, who I had taken them on several occasions, passed away, and she knew that I sang, and she asked if I would sing a particular song at the funeral,
Oh,
and yeah, and I did. And when the president, introduced me to this large gathering at the funeral, he said, "What's Richard John?" He didn't say driver. He didn't say he's like a family. He's like a family member, a friend of the family and a family member. That's what how he introduced me. So that, that's worth, just you can't even put money on that. That's the reward that I love. And esoteric or not, I just enjoy someone appreciating who we are and what we do. So
well, I just thought of a new value add, Richard. I think you need to sing while you're driving. How's that?
I've done that too. I've done, I have done that. They had a couple of drinks, so when they asked me, I said, I'll sing for you. But
See, you're the designated driver as well. It's just awesome.
uh,
Well, thank you again, Richard, and I know we'll be chatting soon. Um,
oh, I hope so.
yes, absolutely. And
All right.
enjoy your
Thank
Sunday.
you, Christine. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
What an extraordinary conversation with Richard Johns from Richard's Ride in Solon, Ohio. Richard's dedication to customer engagement, trust building, and creating unforgettable service experiences is truly inspiring. I think you will agree that one standout takeaway from today's episode is that excellence in customer engagement isn't about transactions. It's about relationships, trust, and going that extra mile. Richard has demonstrated that when you serve from the heart, customers don't just return, they become advocates. If you're a business owner or service professional struggling with customer retention and engagement, I hope Richard's insights have given you fresh strategies to take your service to the next level. Find out more about Richard's Ride and how you can book his top-tier transportation service by visiting his website, richardsride.com. Thank you so much for tuning in to CG Excellence Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who values customer service excellence. Until next time, keep leading with authenticity, kindness, and excellence. Thank you again.